Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Bitcoin. Now, before I get into the smaller time frames, I just wanted to zoom out and give you guys some clarity of what I'm expecting here, reinforcing some Elliott Wave guidelines and rules so you can get a better understanding and some better potential pivot areas of where this correction could actually complete. Now, before I throw my count on, I am going to be showing the bullish perspective, and I'm not going to put on the bearish one until it is invalidated. Okay, so we're out on the daily time frame. Now, initially, a few videos ago, we were looking for this to get an extension from this third and our fourth ending around this area and looking for an extension. Now, reason for that initially is if you look over to the 1.618 extension, which is our regular standard third wave taken from our 1 off our 2, we didn't reach that. That's why initially we were expecting a pivot here and had this labeled differently, and we were expecting our third to be a little bit higher. Now that hasn't happened and time has passed and we're just grinding sideways, I'm now making this my primary count, which was also in previous videos. I believe we have completed our higher third. We came shy of the 1.618 and we're working on our larger fourth. Now, that being the case, we expect one wave to get extended, so perhaps we get a extended fifth wave. All right, so going back to standard Elliott Wave guidelines, if this is labeled correct, that's if this is labeled correct, where do we expect our fourth wave to end? Usually potentially between the 236 and the 50, usually the 382, right? And if I throw in another standard guideline, we expect to correct to the previous fourth wave, come into the area of the previous fourth wave of one lesser degree, which is all the way down sub 49,000. That's the guideline. We'd want to at least overlap this smaller wave 3. Let me throw that on for you, get the exact price. This is on Binance. You'll have to check your own exchange. We'd want to at least come into the territory right around 48,969.48. That is the guideline where we'd expect to come to. So keep that in mind. That's about 50,000. I know a lot of people are paying attention to this order block over here as support to get protected. But if we just go with guidelines, and again, this is labeled correctly, we actually expect to break that low, come into our fourth wave, and then reject and continue to the upside. That could be a candle spike, a wick through there. We'll have to wait and see what comes. But I just want to show you Bitcoin, if this is labeled correctly, is doing exactly what it should for a fourth wave. Okay, another thing I put on there, this is usually my target if we reach the 1.618 for our fourth wave, is the 100. That's again from our wave 1 off our wave 2. We usually hit the 1.618 for our third. This is just a guideline here, and then the 100 for our fourth, which again is about that area. I just use that as placeholders. That's not an Elliott Wave thing. I've just noticed that over and over again. You'll see the 100 off the 1 and the 2 line up with the 382 a lot of the times. So it's just, you can think ahead when it's coming up like this. You can say, okay, fourth is probably in this area. Okay, so on my count here, you can see we're gonna most likely come out of this pitchfork line to get to this area. There's not enough room to get down there. So if we put a channel, I suggest just using a pitchfork. A modified pitchfork is the same as a channel. I prefer to use them, they're just easier. So if we take from the beginning of our wave 1 off our 2, you can see it's just a channel. Exactly the same. So this was another reason in previous videos we were looking for this area. if you start from the beginning of wave 1 off wave 2, you usually expect your wave 4 to pivot on the top side of the channel and get that 5th wave. And when it doesn't, this is now the pitchfork I'm going to be using, you expect it to come in and around the median line of the channel as your second area of expectation. And then in the future, obviously, if we come down there, then we can extend for our 5th wave targets after that. So I'm looking around this area, spike through. I'm going to go back to original. I'm just going to leave it because I expect us to make some sort of, at some point, make some sort of correction underneath. Whoa. At some point, make some sort of correction underneath ABC and then reject for our candle down before we move to the upside. Okay, so now that we've established, we came up shy of 1.618. So expectations are we get an extended 5th wave. We don't have to, but those are my expectations. We're expected to come around the 382 and overlap with this wave 4. So you can see we're doing exactly as we should. And we're going to come out of this pitchfork. Again, I'll switch to modified and look for around the center when we get to that area. Okay, so now let's talk about what's happening in here. Now this is obviously very complex. It can be counted many different ways, and I'm going to have to adjust it as I go. But just wanted to add, once we finally do get this 5th wave, it's probably going to be extended. That is my best guess. We were looking for divergence up here. We didn't get it on the daily. Reason being, this 5th wave was extended as well within here. And I pulled from our beginning of wave 1 off our 3 for our 4th, and we got about almost the 100 extension. The only way you'd see divergence here is between the 5 waves in this 3rd. Let's see if we got it on the 4 hour. Be right. This 3rd and 5th, yeah, you can see we got the divergence there, higher highs, lower lows on the RSI. So that was the only time to really get out on that high. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this correction now. Very difficult, but I'm thinking of ways we get to this zone we were talking about, which is right here, somewhere in this area, and obviously stay above the 50 would be ideal. Invalidation at the 618, so somewhere in the upper end of this 4th wave in green is where we want to be. And this count might change. This is just the most obvious one for me right now. Sorry, before I get into that, just wanted to add this in real quick for time-wise, just to gauge us. I extended fib time of wave 2, extended off wave 3, and that would take us, if we were to do exactly the same length and time, to August 10th to complete this correction. So about a month. Now it can happen before then. That's just an extra guideline. If you get around the 1-to-1, you can, and you're in that area, it's a pretty good potential pivot spot. So that's there, August 10th there, and that's the 1-to-1 in time, where wave 4 would equal wave 2. All right, so let's talk about this correction. This has been the most troublesome area right here. I've seen several different people's ideas. This is what I think is the way we get there the easiest and the simplest. We break through this level, like I said, with a candle spike, something like this. And I'll show you some alternatives too. So have this as a W wave, a zigzag. Have a triangle for our X wave. Now, one thing about triangles is they're very difficult to spot in real time, especially running triangles. And they can be a series of simple zigzags or multiple zigzags. few guidelines as per Elliott Wave. C waves are usually the longer wave right here, C, as you can see, and sometimes the D is. So our C wave is the longest, and usually C waves as well have the deepest retracement. So just something to keep in mind. These are guidelines. I don't like how high this came up, the C wave, but it is valid. So looking at the way this panned out and the targets I'm looking at, it's starting to make sense that this is potentially a triangle complete or almost complete. So we have our zigzag A, zigzag B, double zigzag for our C, that's a WXY, and we have a zigzag D with a leading diagonal and an impulse to end, and then a three wave for our E if it is complete, as you can see. So it's all there, very simple. We're just at the 236. This can continue on if we don't break this B wave, and the triangle can get a little bit bigger, which is at 56,552.82. So we need to break that level first before I would consider this triangle complete. And if this does hold, I took the length of our W wave off our X and put our Fibonacci levels here. The 1-to-1's at 52,607.16, but again, that lines up with that support area. I think we'd actually probably get an extension down to around 46,667. Reason being is I did our thrust measurement, extend back the A wave, extend back the B wave, get the measurement. And if this triangle is complete, our thrust would actually bring us down to 48,231.11. So right in that zone I've measured out. Again, that's if the E wave is complete. So my minimum would be that thrust measurement I'd want to see, or at least a completed count. Now, what are we going to get here? It would be a flat or a zigzag, WXY. And I need more pivots to get the exact measurement, but say the A wave is in the zigzag, we would, if we got like a 50% retracement, again, we'd want to get like the 1.618 extension, not the 1-to-1, just because of that thrust measurement. Okay, now different ways to count this. Now I don't have these written up. I'll just draw them. So if we're bearish, this would have to be a 1, 2. This is a diagonal, and this is where things get complicating. This could be a 1, 2. I really don't like it though. If that's our wave 1, this would be our wave 4, and this is our wave 5. So this can be technically counted as an impulse. Let me show you how. So that would be a 1, 2, 1, 2, and we'd be looking for a correction to the upside. Now, if you go on the smaller time frames, you can get 5 out of this, but the way I would count that is this is a 1, 2, 3, very deep 4, and it might actually hit past the 618. So I might not even count it that way. Yeah, it passes the 0.618. I don't like it at all, although it doesn't overlap with the wave 1, as you can see. Yeah, it's just ugly. I prefer correction over impulse. It'd be more likely a complex combination to the downside. But again, I don't want to get into that until we actually invalidate any levels. I think it's poor trading to try and short in this area with this kind of structure, unless there's a perfect setup once everything becomes more clear. Okay, So one thing I wanted to show you here, people seem to be having a lot of difficulty with this move here. I think this is pretty straightforward as a diagonal A, B, and there's 5 waves in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So ABC. All right, so one more thing I wanted to add to this. This is my main count. I was considering if this is a flat. Okay, so if we take the top beginning of, if we count this as a W wave, as an ABC, and how that would look is this is your triangle. And this would be your A wave. This would be an A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, like so. This becomes a WXY up to here, X. So this is a larger A, or B, or X. And one thing I was considering is if this is a 3 wave, this is a 3 wave, if this turns into a 3, 3, 3. I hope that makes sense to you guys here. Again, we just grind down for probably all month, and this would actually become a flat. We reach the 90% minimum retracement here of this A wave. I looked at it, you can see we just ticked it. Go look at it yourself. So it's valid. And this would be our wave 1 of our ending diagonal for our C wave. It would look like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's another option. But as you can see in the triangle option or this option, the direction's the same. Okay, so now that we got that scenario out of the way, I'll make sure this is labeled next time. I was just looking at it today and looking at the most obvious way we finish. And there is one other way, and that would be, I don't think so though, if this turns into an ABC, just comes to this B wave level, we could still be in our triangle. And what I would do is move this over here. This would become an ABC, ABC double zigzag, move our D over, and this would be more of a barrier triangle where these are all the same level. And then we could get our E wave up here and then drop. That still gives us plenty of time, that 1-to-1, and then we drop, and then we're complete. So if we start breaking these levels without breaking this B wave, I still think we're mid-correction because there's no completed pattern there. I just don't see it. I know there is the options that this can be like wave 1 and 2 of a diagonal to the upside, but seems very unlikely to me. I don't want to see some major resistance broken before I change to that point of view. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. Down in this zone, ideally, my thrust there. Triangle either complete, or get another move here, come back up, then come down, like so. Then we move to the upside. Or this is an A, B, this ends up just dragging out into a diagonal for a C wave. ABC, off we go. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I know there's it's a pretty difficult time. Usually when that happens, I just zoom out, pay attention to the most obvious. This is extending out in time, most likely a 4th wave. Where do 4th waves come? Between the 236 and the 50, most likely the 382. Within the area of the previous 4th wave of 1 lesser degree. And again, my standard fib around the 100. So we should come below this area that everyone seems to be using as support. Could be a liquidation event, like a quick candle and reversal. But as of right now, not very bullish until we get sub 50K on Bitcoin. All right, guys, that's it for Bitcoin. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to check me out on Twitter, sometimes I post on there if I don't have time to make a video. It's at caching_waves. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.